how do I be a better leader as parents? I think the stuff that I talk about in my business is applicable to what happens when your kid is struggling. How do you step up as a leader and the leader in your family, right, as the parents, to help them thrive, or as I would say, conquer adversity?
Hey everybody, welcome to the DMC Wellness Wave. I'm your host, Matt Dawkins, and as always, weekly we're sitting down with health-minded business leaders to get to know their story, but also see what they know that can help families get and stay healthy. And today I'm kind of geeking out a little bit because I get to talk about one of my favorite subjects with someone who I've just recently met. I can't wait to share that story with you, but awesome Nick D is with us. Awesome Nick D. Nick, how you doing?
Life is good, Matt. I'm thrilled to be here. It's an awesome day.
It is an awesome day. It's a Friday.
Yes,
it's
sir.
Not necessarily in the name of health, but it's pizza day at school, and my kids are pumped about that. So
my kids love pizza day. I used to think my parents gave us pizza because they were cool parents, but I think they just gave it to us because it's easy. On Friday, they're tired and they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna do pizza today.
We have gotten to the point now, and where with our kids, they'll serve Uncrustables at school, and we're trying to turn the ship a little bit, and so we've started buying like organic non-GMO bread and organic peanut butter and organic jelly. And we realized like lunch is free at school, but we're choosing to make a $72 peanut butter and jelly sandwich to send with them.
They don't make non-GMO Uncrustables yet.
Yeah, look, it's got to be coming soon.
Absolutely.
Well, Nick, I want to dive into your story a little bit. Nick, you would say that you are a leadership and resilient speaker who empowers businesses to thrive in adversity so they can create awesome workplace cultures. Yeah. And like I said, I'm going to geek out. And when I hear that, I'm like, yes, but probably when the world hears that, they're like, okay, so what does that mean? So explain that a little bit to our audience, what exactly you do.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I love when people ask me, what do I do? I usually give them something like that because I want to be able to tell people about what it is that I do, because it's so important that people work with people like me and make this a priority in their businesses and in our lives. So I usually make it a little vague intentionally because I want to have more conversation around. I want people to, it's not like taxes. It's not something that everybody has to do. This is a choice you make to say, hey, we want to create a culture that our people love. So I like to tell people I empower people at the end of the day. And I do that through workshops, speaking, coaching. And really it's for organizations and people who are struggling with engagement, which usually happens when adversity hits. So adversity is a bunch of different things depending on who you are and where you are in life, where your business might be. But yeah, I get to work with health-focused, health-conscious organizations, a lot of healthcare organizations specifically, to help them empower their employees, their managers, so that we can create a culture that their people love.
Come on. So, I just heard somebody recently say, almost like, stop telling people what you do and start giving them examples of what you do. So almost, take the business that you've worked with, the struggle that they had, and then give them sort of the explanation of how you help them overcome that thing. So, I'm in marketing, but that's almost a conversation ender.
Absolutely.
What do you do? I'm in marketing. Okay, conversation over.
I'm done.
Versus like, hey, what, can I give an example of what it is that I do? And almost always that's like this intriguing, way to know that you're going to get into it. So,
I think people want to know what we can do to help each other. I mean, at the end of the day, like everyone tunes into WIFFM, right? Like what's in it for me, or WIFM, right? At the end of the day, people want to know, how can this person help me help our organization? And every organization has some sort of struggle with employee engagement, with training. I mean, I ask organizations all the time, and specifically managers in organizations, we'll ask them, like, did you receive the proper training on how to coach your employees, how to care for your employees, how to lead your employees, how to manage your employees? And the reality is most people say no. They got the training on the logistical pieces, like how do I do payroll and how do I do an employee review, but how do I be a better leader? What do I do when the fit hits the shan? Like when something goes wrong, now what do I do? Like I've got to figure out, oh my gosh, I've got this employee who is struggling. They have this going on in their life, right? And it's the same thing for us as, as people in life in general, right? As parents, I think the stuff that I talk about in my business is applicable to what happens when your kid is struggling. How do you step up as a leader and the leader in your family, right, as the parents, to help them thrive, or as I would say, conquer adversity?
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about that, but I didn't want to miss the chance to tell people how we met.
Yeah.
So I'm going to back up a little bit and let you know, because I think I shared this with you, but we have a mutual friend, Dr. David Turner, Impact Chiropractic, who thinks the world of you. And as we're planning for the DMC Family Wellness Expo on March 23rd, we're building out micro workshops, opportunities for health-minded business leaders to take the stage and share some practical wisdom on health, whether that's physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, mental, whatever facet of health families walking in might be struggling with, that they're going to get educated in an inspiring way. So Dr. Turner was like, "Oh, you need to look at awesome Nick D. You need to reach out to him." And I'm thinking, absolutely, kind of put it in my back pocket. And then I'm in New York, of all places, and I'm supposed to be on a 5 a.m. flight, delayed 5 hours. Just so happens that right before this plane's about to take off, this guy taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, aren't you on this flight?" And I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. Yeah, I appreciate that. And we strike a chord, and it ends up being you. You're the guy. You're the guy. What are the odds that we're both in New York, coming back from New York to Myrtle Beach? Yep. And I think you introduced yourself as a leadership and resilience coach, and I was like, immediately, I was like, "What's your name?" Because I have heard something about this. What are the odds? So you were in New York. And what were you doing over that way?
I was actually doing. So before I started getting into more work with health-focused organizations, my background originally was in education. So I was actually doing about a 4-hour leadership seminar with a group of student leaders from a small college up in New Haven, Connecticut. And for me, I love that work because it's so cool to see our young adults, young professionals thinking about how they can be a better leader. I think if we did more of that, then I wouldn't need to be doing the work in healthcare organizations now, because people would come into it with that mindset shift of, I'm going to be a leader. I can overcome adversity. So yeah, I was up there doing that, and we'd been sitting in that airport for so long. I was like, this guy's been here for a minute, so he's got to be on the flight to Myrtle Beach. Like, I'm just at least going to ask. Like, I'm going to, if he's not, and it happened so quick too, right? We didn't even know we were supposed to get on the flight, and then it was, I didn't want you to miss it. So the fact that we were ended up being,
and I was out too. Wild. I mean, I was, from 3 a.m. until then, just pacing, walking, sleeping, thinking I was going to be back in time actually to go to church.
That was my goal too.
I'm thinking I want to get as much rest as I can. We obviously probably both missed church, but I appreciate you waking me up. I appreciate you getting me up. And so I don't want it to go unsaid, because I think about the value of the role that you're in, even for those of us that learn about leadership and learn about resiliency in school. So let's say you have a bachelor's, let's say you have a master's, let's say you have a doctorate. There is a chasm of a difference between conceptual, I'm learning it from a book, and then real time, I'm learning it from my current relationships and my current responsibilities. And what you do is you close that gap. Absolutely. I think that's really cool. And I think that's a gift to the businesses that you get to work with. So I listened to a TED Talk of yours recently, and you're walking around on the stage with a 30-pound backpack on your back, and you're talking about overcoming adversity. Tell me a little bit about the genesis of that concept. Where'd you come up with that concept? And then let's get into talking about it.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's important that we as individuals differentiate ourselves. That's probably something you think about all the time as a marketer, right? How do we differentiate ourselves? And I also want to make sure people are, when I'm working with them, I want them to be engaged. I want them to be curious. I want them to wonder. I think that's where some of our best learning comes from, when we truly get a chance to think and just be curious about, like, I wonder, why does this guy have a backpack on? So one, it's a great way for me to start a presentation. I love giving a presentation, whether it's a TED Talk or a keynote, with that on, and just telling the story of my life and really a moment in my life where there was this huge moment of adversity, but not addressing this backpack. And so the backpack itself is actually something that I do to take care of myself. So I like doing what is called rucking. So it is a rucksack, technically, which in the military, they put weight in their rucksack and they walk around, right? It's a form of training. For me, it's good physically, but also it's good mentally. You want to do something that is tough, do something that's boring. So walking around with 30 pounds on your back sucks. It's uncomfortable. It's tough physically to just walk 4 miles with that on. It takes longer than running 4 miles. And when you do that, you mentally have a lot of things to think about. So that's where it came from. Like I initially just used rucking. I had some friends that did it here locally in Myrtle Beach, and I got into it as a way to take care of myself physically. And then as I was doing that, I started thinking about how many people are truly carrying around some type of weight of adversity, right? So, and the cool thing is you don't always see it on people, right? So the backpack you can tangibly see, but you don't also know when you see it that has 30 pounds in it. There's no way of knowing what you're carrying around today versus what you're going to be handed tomorrow. So that 30-pound backpack for me is kind of like the adversity that everybody is handed.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, depending on the day, the organization. For my wife and I, that backpack was learning that our oldest son, Calvin, has autism, right? I will tell people too that backpack for me is being his father as an autism dad, but he doesn't get to take his backpack off, right? Like he will walk around with autism forever and you don't know it. It's invisible. So for me, it's about how do we choose to put the backpack on? And then also, how do we choose to recognize that there are so many other people in this world carrying a backpack, some that we see, some that we don't see, some that we see and we don't know what's inside it. So really, for me, it's an extremely powerful metaphor in conquering adversity and recognizing that it's there.
Wow. I want to ask you a question that I did not give you in advance.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. That's what we're here for.
I think that I want to believe that there's a tension to manage between preparing for adversity that you know you're going to face and then rehearsing tragedy where you sort of live in fear, right? So that, okay, I want to be prepared. We used to say work like it depends on you, pray like it depends on God. There's all these sayings, and then there's let go and let God, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so there's all these sayings, but I think about, we watch a show called Blue Bloods. I don't know if you've ever seen Blue Bloods. It's Tom Selleck, who's like the commissioner of the NYPD, and he's this guy that's just always full of wisdom. And he says that a lot. He says, don't rehearse tragedy. What he's saying is, don't get buried in the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? Some people, that's a primary mover for them, where in a sense they are preparing for adversity, but there's no balance there between I'm preparing for adversity, but I'm not living in fear. Absolutely. How do you talk to a team that you're really trying to prepare for adversity, but managing that tension well? And that's, again, I didn't give you that question in advance, but I'm just curious.
It's a fantastic question, though, because I think that we don't do, and like in general, in society, we don't prepare for adversity, right? Adversity is like the number one on-the-job training that we get as humans. Something happens and you've never prepped for it. Most people don't prep for it. They do that what ifs and they do the worrying and the fear. And I don't think fear is a bad thing. I say it in my TED Talk, and I fully believe this. Like, fear is just an opportunity to be brave. Like, to me, that's all it is. You don't get to be brave. You don't get to be awesome. You don't get to be courageous if you don't have that fear and that worry. That's normal. It's supposed to happen. So I think there's a difference between preparing for adversity and being ready for adversity. I don't think anyone is ever ready for it. When I put that 30-pound backpack on, I'm still not ready for it. It's always uncomfortable. It's always heavy. It doesn't matter how much I prepare and practice for it. Like, there's no such thing as things getting easier. You just get stronger, right? So it's the idea that, like, the more we choose to put it on and practice it, the more we choose to have the tough conversations, the more we choose to get in the cold shower, the more we choose to have that, do that thing that I don't want to do, whatever it may be in business. And that's what's important for that organization to figure out. We need to talk about what are the things we're struggling with? Where are we? Okay. How do you feel about it? Where are you as an individual, as the manager, as the employee, right? And how do we take it to the next level? And I'm not here to tell you that's going to be easy, right? It starts with that ability to just accept that this is uncomfortable, accept that, like, it's not a what if, it's just a matter of when. Like there is no what if. It's just a matter of when is the backpack going to be handed to you, and have you done anything to prepare yourself mentally for it? You know, and in business, it's every day is different. You know, recession, right? Like, you know, the election's coming up. Like, you want to talk about what ifs? Like, you can't plan for what if's going to happen. You need to plan for what you can do today and do the hard thing now.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I can also appreciate you're the guy who's saying prepare for adversity, but your name's also Awesome Nick D.
Absolutely.
You know, that some people would say there's a contrast there, but again, you're finding a way to say it can be awesome, and here's how it can be awesome. You know, like,
but it's gonna be awesome because it also sucks. Like, one of my keynotes is called "Embrace the Suck." It's about the fact that, like, you literally have to, if you want to live an awesome life, if you want to fulfill your potential, if you want your business to get to the next level. How do you do that? You start by embracing the things that are not that great, the things that you don't enjoy, the tough conversations. If you struggle with recognition because you're a person who's very operationally focused and business minded, and you are not good at that caring and support, well, then that's what you need to embrace if you want to get to the next level with your people. You know,
Love it.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? That's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah. So some people, I think that they have a plan, right? But they're not prepared for adversity. You quoted Mike Tyson in your TED Talk, and you said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You said, why are you waiting for someone to punch you in the mouth? Punch yourself in the dang mouth now.
It's true though. Like we truly, as humans, we have learned to avoid discomfort, right? That's who we are as, like, and really, you know, it's funny, when I talk to marketers, we jokingly say, like, comfort is what sells, right? Like, you're not in the business of selling discomfort to people. Like, if you truly want to market something, you're not going to be like, hey, come do this. It's going to be really difficult. You're going to hate it. You're going to talk about how do we grow from it. Well, that happens when we choose the uncomfortable, when we say, I'm going to schedule the lunch with my employees every other week, even though I feel like I'm not going to be working towards my goal. I'm not going to be with my clients. I'm going to be with my people, and that's not comfortable for me because I'm not making money. Well, it's uncomfortable, but it's also what your people need. It's what they want. It's what's going to take your business and your culture to the next level. So it's that idea that this is uncomfortable for me, but what is it teaching me? What am I learning from it? How am I growing from it?
And that's a really easy thing to connect with family too. Because I think about, even as a dad and a husband, you know, I like when I'm working, I can sort of measure my effective hourly rate and my return on investment. And there's a dollar sign attached to different tasks. And then you sort of get back in the house. You know, I work from home. I'm 3 doors away from the craziness of my 2 youngers that are home with my wife. You know, but taking time from this to go to that can be uncomfortable sometimes. Taking time away from the job to spend time with family can be uncomfortable. And the dollar sign isn't there, right? The return on investment is different, but I think the connection's the same, right? It's what they need. And for me, where I say my house and my home is my world, you know, my family's my world, I think a lot of times I'm probably going to have 2 or 3 more jobs before it's all said and done. But I get this one family. And when I think about return on investment, you know, from an eternal standpoint, or a longer game than my annual salary, that we're going to build resilience into our family in a way that's going to really set me up for success with the greater challenges that come professionally, and their return is going to be different than dollar signs, but who knows how it'll correlate in the future. So,
absolutely.
man, I want to ask you so many more questions. I think we're going to have to go part 2 on this because I think the value is there for our listeners, but I want to honor sort of the clock that we set for ourselves. So, Nick, thanks so much for making time for this. Let me just say this in closing. For those of you that are out there that are struggling with overcoming adversity, or how do you prepare for adversity for for the way that you need to be leading yourself and your families, the way that you can set your future self up for success by doing things today to prepare for not the ifs but the wins. There's incredible value in this conversation, Nick. I hope we get to hang out again soon. Also hope I get to see you at the expo. You and I will talk about that more.
Yes,
but for those families that are tuning in, let's keep the wave of wellness going, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.